Boom. Okay. In this video, I'm going to be answering the question of how are you going to go absolute nightmare mode for your agency in 2024? A lot of people ask me, how do you write so much copy? How do you get so much work done? Do you sleep? Things like this. And not to say like I'm the machine mode output type of guy, but there was a very distinct difference from when I was doing the things that I'm outlining in this video compared to before when I wasn't doing the things that I'm about to outline in this video. And that difference is pretty big. It's not as if I'm some, a lot of people think, as soon as you hit, 1.8K subscribers on YouTube, they start asking you for photos. They start asking you to, kiss their baby's forehead, etc. But that's not actually the case here. A lot of the success that I've had with my agency and with 1000X Leads has been as a result of this sort of protocol that I've made and I've distilled into a little bit of a quick and dirty sort of checklist on what you want to focus on in 2024 and also the reason why that's important, because obviously that's, matters more than anything almost. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So we've broken this down into habits, work tasks, and Kaizen, and I'll cover each one in a little bit of detail, as well as exactly what you're going to be working on in the 5 hours that you're going to have blocked off. So first things first, in terms of your habits, number one is going to be you need to kick the sheets. And when I say kick the sheets, what I mean is when you when you wake up, the first second that you want to, the first second that your eyes open, basically, you want to have that mindset of just kicking the sheets off and getting out of bed immediately. I know a lot of people struggle, and I know I did with specifically, kind of mulling around in bed. If you have your phone next to your bed, if you have, whatever you're doing, it can take you a slow amount of time to get up. But what you want to do is if you kick the sheets and you get immediately into a morning routine, the momentum that you get is absolutely insane, because you get this feeling when you're achieving tasks and you're ticking boxes early in the morning of, okay, this is a productive day. And if you compare that to, let's say, I know a lot of people popularize, you wake up and you just go straight to the desk. Sometimes you're still groggy, you haven't really got much momentum. And I've found at times if you go ahead and if you try and get stuck straight into a really difficult task, like let's say you're about to wake up and you're going to write a VSL, you're going to write a sales letter, and that's like task number one. It's kind of a big task to get done. And it's very chunky, and you might work on a VSL for 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours without any actual progress, and without being able to check a box and say, okay, done, we're moving, we've got things rolling. And like I said, a lot of people popularize not having a morning routine. I'm a big proponent of it because it gives you that momentum the same way that kicking the sheets does. So if you woke up every morning and you literally kicked the sheets off you kicked your doona cover or your duvet, whatever you call it, wherever you are in the world, if you kick your sheets off and you're straight into a morning routine immediately, I guarantee you that you're going to be more productive that day. Absolutely guaranteed. Nothing good happens by just sort of sitting in bed for hours after you wake up, or even an hour, or even 45 minutes, or even 30 minutes. The difference that you get by compressing the amount of time that you spend in bed in the morning is not just the actual time, it's also the momentum that you lose by starting slow. So if you have this mindset of just as soon as your eyes open, you're in attack mode, that can be really, really helpful. Something that I've done specifically to help myself implement this is I've had like a magnesium glycinate. Sometimes when you wake up with brain fog or you wake up and you're kind of still tired, it's really, really easy to start slow. But if you can sort of mess around with your supplements and mess around with how much you're going to sleep, magnesium glycinate has worked for me. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, but that has been something that I've used to wake up a little bit fresher, or even just magnesium in general helps you wake up a little bit fresher than without, as well as just drinking a lot of water before bed, as well as, if you need a pee when you wake up, it's kind of a good thing. Obviously, you don't want to pee during the night, but if you need to pee when you wake up, and that's the thing that gets you out of bed, whatever you need to do. And like I said, then you want to get straight into your morning routine. The hallmark of the morning routine are these three things. So these are kind of subsets of the morning routine. The biggest one, for me at least, is cardio. The absolute biggest thing that I attribute focus and the ability to write a lot of copy, the ability to do a lot of work, the ability to spend a lot of time on calls during the day is cardio. Because that is the number one thing that will keep your mind sharp. I swear to you, if I don't sweat in the morning, it's not as if it's one of these things where you're massively coping, like, oh, if I don't sweat, I can't work. Sometimes you miss your morning routine, you can't get cardio in if you're busy, if you've got meetings, whatever it may be. But if I don't sweat, I feel like I'm moderately less productive that day compared to days that I do sweat. And it just sort of gets you that leveled, gets you in that leveled state. And something interesting that I found was that in the times that I wasn't able to focus, it was because I was a little bit too charged up. Maybe I had a little bit too much coffee, a little bit too much cortisol, a little bit too much nicotine, whatever it was, but I was almost tense. That was when I couldn't focus. So a really good way of leveling that out is starting off your day with cardio, and also starting off your day with sort of a little bit of like a 5 minute or even like a 30-second, just breathe, just get your heart rate way down. I found that I was focusing really well when my heart rate was as low as I could possibly get it. And cardio is a really big part of this, because if you think about kind of like your physiological being, and again, not a doctor, but if you think about your physiological being, the thing that worked for me in terms of my physiology, what I did was I actually looked at, okay, when I'm not focused, what's going on in my physiology? And when I am focused, what am I feeling? Like, what's actually going on in my body? And I was calm. My heart rate was pretty low. I had done cardio that morning, and I'd almost leveled out. And that was a really big thing. And it also taken like a 30-second to 5 minutes, just bring the body down and getting ready to just focus on the one thing. Because I think a big part of not being able to focus and not being able to get the work done is for people who struggle with task switching more so than not knowing what to do. So it's kind of a mix of task switching, not having focus, and also a lack of clarity on what to do. So task switching is obviously when you have something to do, you have a list of 10 things to do, and you kind of have a lack of prioritization, you have a lack of clarity, so you kind of find yourself clicking through and going, I don't know what to do, and you're sort of clicking through doing half a task every 2 minutes instead of just doing one thing until it's done. And I think that's kind of a symptom of this anxiety, which is what I'm tying this back around to the need to do cardio in the morning and then do a little bit of breathing while you're at it. The next thing is reading your standards. And you might think, it's kind of weird. I don't really want to read my standards. But the thing is, it's really important that you tattoo your standards on your mind and on your brain, because everyone knows the saying, you don't rise to the level of your motivation, you will fall to the level of your standards, like your training standards. You see this in sports teams a lot. If they have low standards for their training, in the game, when things go wrong, they kind of just crumble. They just crumble. Like if the other team gets some momentum and their training standards aren't up, like the team that we're talking about, if their training standards are low, they will fall to the level of their standards, and all of a sudden they'll be missing their skills, their passes will be going out of bounds, they won't be kicking their goals, etc., etc. That's the exact same thing with business. There are going to be times in business and with your agency that things just absolutely suck. There's just no way of going around it. There's going to be times where you have a sales slump. There's going to be times when your outreach starts sucking, your ads start sucking, Zuckerberg takes away your ad account, whatever it may be, or a client's mad at you for whatever reason. Things like this happen. It's kind of a high stress environment, especially if you're dealing with, high ticket deals and bigger retainers. It's kind of a high stress environment. And that is why you need your standards to be absolutely at the forefront, because you are going to be put under pressure at different times. I'm not going to act like you're at war or you're going into, World War II and you're in Vietnam or whatever it may be. You're not doing that. But at the same time, it does get difficult. And when it gets difficult, you need to have your standards at the forefront. So for example, what your standards are, they're basically the minimum thing that you will accept of yourself, the minimum. So for example, if you have a standard, every single day, I'm going to post a YouTube video. Every single day, I'm going to do cardio. I'm going to stay in shape. That is just who I am. That is my personal standard. That is how it works. Every single day, some people say, I'm going to pray every day. Some people say, every single day, I'm going to write a blog post. I'm going to do a newsletter. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. This is just who I am. This is how I act. This is how Leo acts. And this is what I accept of myself. This is my identity. That is what your standards are. And if you're trying to get like a new set of standards, so if you see this video and you think, I'm going to write out my standards, I'm going to say what they are, and you want to write a new set, you want to really entrench a new set of standards, it is absolutely important to read them out every single day, because that is going to get that repetition compared to if you just kind of have them written somewhere in a document and you never ever read them. It's not going to be anywhere nearly as powerful. And what I'll do is I'll pull up my standards right here just so you can see them. This is what a successful day looks like for Leo in 2024. So I'm going to make my bed. I'm going to get my coffee. I'm going to feed my dog. I'm going to do my cardio. I'm going to set up my water station. I'm going to read my major definite purpose. I'm going to read my standards. I'm going to meditate 5 minutes. I'm going to post in school, record a YouTube video, tweet twice, post a short, make a graphic, get feedback from customers, make sure they're getting results, go for a light walk, review the day and update journal, aka talk to self, and then watch a Hormozi video or podcast. So to be honest, if I really review myself, these two things I probably slack at. The actually probably less so the graphic. I do make the graphic. Probably these two things. Tweeting twice and posting a short, I'm not as good at. Maybe I need to analyze that and see where the breakdown is occurring. But as you can imagine, if I pull up my actual standards too, you'll be able to see if I read these things every single morning, it basically creates a contract with myself and it creates a contract with my identity. So you can see, if you want to pause the video, just read them. I'm not going to go through it. I won't bore you, but you can see this isn't just a real thing. I'm not just saying, hey, just make this up and go and do it yourself. This is a real thing. This will create a contract with yourself, and when you hold yourself to that standard, that is one of the biggest things for your self-worth and for your self-esteem, because you make the contract. You say, hey, I'm going to make the claim, I'm going to do this thing. And then you do that thing every single day. And let me tell you, there is nothing better for your confidence, for your self-esteem, than just being someone of integrity and doing the stuff that you say you're going to do. Because there is nothing more painful, and this is from experience, there's nothing more painful than saying, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z thing. You could see even just then how embarrassed I was. Shit, I said I was going to post a short. I haven't been doing that. So there's nothing more painful than that, when you make that contract and then you don't do it. It's just like, that's terrible. Don't do that. So that's kind of the standards piece. Then what you have is setting up a water station. The reason for this is because me personally, I don't like getting up and filling my water bottle. I would much prefer have my water station, a couple of different drink bottles there, thing. I would rather have that at the start of the day and just have however much water I need to consume right there next to me at my desk, so I don't have to get up. So that's the morning habits. This is just non-negotiable stuff that is going to help you be productive for the day. Next, we're going to talk about the work tasks. So this is the actual stuff that you're going to do, because I know a lot of people struggle with, I've got all this stuff to do. I've got client work. I've got X, Y, and Z, ABC, but my business isn't growing. And it's like, well, I think if your business isn't growing, you're probably not doing the right stuff. I was talking to a guy the other day who said he's plateaued between 20 and 30K a month for like 3 years. I was like, brother, there's probably some significant things that you're not doing that you absolutely need to be doing. And number one is blocking out 5 hours from your calendar. There is absolutely no reason to not have 5 hours blocked from your calendar, whether it be between 6 a.m. to 11 a.m., whether it be from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m., whether it be from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., which is what I'm doing right now. It's currently 5:25 p.m. There's absolutely no reason not to do that. If you have 7 hours of client work that you have to do, if you have 7 hours of meetings, then you can have those 7 hours of meetings. But unless you're absolutely under the pump and you have zero time, this 5 hours should be your number one priority. And the reason for that is that within these 5 hours, you are going to be focused on your leveraged tasks. And when I say leveraged tasks, I mean these things. So you're going to be spending 1 to 2 hours every single day on your funnel. What does your funnel mean? So I'll break it down even further. So in your funnel, you have your ads, you have your lead magnets, you have your cold emails, you have your newsletters, and you have your content. So what I'm talking about here is this stuff. Where is it? I'm talking about this stuff. So you're spending 1 to 2 hours a day on this. You're building your paid ads. You're making your content. You're doing your outreach. You're making your partnerships within your outreach. You're making your lead magnets. You're making your thank you pages, your email flows. You're doing your conversion mechanisms. So VSLs, workshops, newsletters, communities, appointment setters. That's training your appointment setters, more content, etc., etc. This time is absolutely sacred to the business. If you haven't grown in a while, it's probably because you haven't been doing this. I can almost guarantee it. Because if you did do this every single day, you would either know why the business isn't growing, or you would have a very good idea of what is going wrong. Sorry, what did I say? So if you're not doing this, I can guarantee you that is why your business isn't growing. That's kind of the point there. I lost my train of thought. But essentially, doing these things is literally the only thing that grows the business. Because I don't know, I swear people have this idea of, I'll bring it up over here. They have this idea that if they just have a funnel up that exists and they just do some certain things, that they're going to get clients. And it's just like, what's going on here? We're using the hoping approach. If you're not working on your funnel 1 to 2 hours every single day, you don't necessarily deserve to grow. And obviously, if you can grow off referrals, that's not exactly like a bad thing. It's a great thing. It means your service is really good. But at the same time, it's unpredictable, and you're kind of leaving your future in the hands of other people, which isn't really my style. So what you want to do is 1 to 2 hours every day within this 5 hours, purely on the funnel. So that's making ads, that's making lead magnets, that's making lead magnets better, that's writing cold emails, that might be scraping lists, that might be training your team on how to scrape lists. Again, that's your newsletter, that's your content. Making things that are too good to fail is absolutely the most important thing, because, people always talk about Hormozi. I always talk about Hormozi. You see a lot of YouTube videos on a daily basis, but for some reason, people like Hormozi, people like my business partner, Matt Larson, they resonate more with some people than so many people who post YouTube videos. So there's people that post every single day and they never get any traction. Even myself, I might even get 500 views. That's because you're not good enough yet. Because if you were that good, you'd be too good to fail. And that is what this time is allocated towards. And it's not as if you're saying, oh, you're so terrible, like you suck. I'm saying you need this time specifically to get better. That's why you have to block the time, because this is obviously the leveraged stuff. And when I say leverage, I mean this is the stuff where you're going to put in 1 unit and you're going to get out 2 units or more. Because a lot of people seem to think, hey, there's a fire in the business. I need to go and put this out. It's going to take 2 hours. It's going to take my focus. The business is not going to blow up within the 5 hours that you have blocked off. Whatever happens, if you just respond an hour later, how often does something happen? Like if you think about the last however long you've been alive, in your entire life, how many times has there been a situation where you were needed within less than 5 hours? And if you weren't accessed within those 5 hours, that the world will literally explode. How many times? Probably not that many. So just block off the time and focus on things that are going to give you 1 unit, 2 units for your 1 unit, or 3, even 3, because that is where you get an advantage. Because think about it, like if you think about Jeff Bezos, what's he got going for him? He's got way more leverage than anyone else. He's got more employees, he's got more capital, he's got more hours worked, he's got a better product, he's got more media, he's got more access to networking and all these things. That's just leverage, and that has to be built. It doesn't just come from thin air. That takes time to build, and it takes time on the right things. So if you have something where you can get 1 unit in and 2 units out, or maybe you can do 1 unit in, 4 units out, or maybe even 1 and 5 units out, or 50, or maybe you're really good at YouTube and you can get really skilled at that, and you can put 1 unit in and you can get 100,000 views. There are not many areas of the business where you are that leveraged. So what you want to do is you want to focus on the things that are going to give you the biggest output. I cannot stress it enough. I think it was Alex Hormozi who said, strategy is how we use our limited resources against unlimited options. So there are unlimited options for what to focus on. It is absolutely imperative that you focus on the important stuff that is going to get you the biggest ROI. Because I'm telling you, the companies that scale ridiculously fast are not actually doing anything. They're not doing anything that you can't do. They're just doing the basics and doing a lot of it. So focus on the stuff that's going to give you the biggest output. Then the next thing is focusing on product. So I think it was, again, Jeff Bezos, who he scrapped his entire marketing budget to go and give away free shipping. How well is that done for him? He's only gone and become like the biggest company. I think he's the richest man alive right now. And that's a really interesting aspect, because while we do want to focus on our product, on our funnel, up here, we also need to focus on our product, because we need to allocate our resources based on long-term thinking, and also our long-term values, and also based on our customer as well, because where you allocate your time and your resources is really going to indicate what you care about. And if you care about your customers, you're probably going to put a lot of time into your product. And if you care about getting referrals, you're probably going to do a lot of product stuff. I think it was, again, Hormozi who said, you can either make a shitty product and spend the rest of your life marketing it, or you can make a really, really good product that takes, a long time and then never have to market again. So what we want to do is somewhere in the middle of that, where we have a lot of time in our funnel and a lot of time in our product. And the reason these two things are selected, again, is because these are the things that are going to give us leverage. So when it comes to working on our product, what does that actually look like? Number 1, team training. Why would you work on team training? Because it is the number 1 thing in your product that is going to give you one time that you make it, and how many millions of outputs is it going to get you? It's going to get you an infinite output, because you can then train your team over and over again and have S-tier employees that can do the work for you. How good does that sound? Next, onboarding. Why is this important? Because it's going to be made once So you put it in once, and then it's going to output infinite, because however many clients you get, they're all going to go through onboarding, and it's going to reduce your churn over time like crazy. Next, guides for frequently asked questions. So if your clients constantly ask you the same stuff, whether you're running an agency, whether you have a coaching program, whatever, your clients are going to have questions, I'm sure. If they continually ask, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? Do we need this? Is that essential? Is that important? Etc. Make a guide. What does this give you? Leverage. Again, all of this stuff is just about leverage, and it's about focusing on the right things. Oh my goodness, I'm going to have to LARP on about this forever. So give yourself some content leverage here, and just make the guides. And again, what is this? Content leverage, content leverage, content leverage, content leverage, code leverage, content leverage, and then ads are a bit of everything. Keep that stuff in mind. Then what you can do is things like delivering projects faster. So if you want to make a new project management system, if you think of a new way to deliver faster, if you can think, hey, if we deliver our projects normally in a month, how do we get that down to 14 days? If we can deliver our project in 90 days, how do we get that down to 30 days? And that's a pretty classic one where you are focusing on this bad boy right here, time delay. Really, really important to increase the value in your offer is reducing the amount of time delay that you are going through. So just do that. It's really, really easy. It's going to make your clients really happy, and you can actually track the exact effect that this is going to have on churn and on how your clients feel, and also how you survey your clients, because we're going to talk about that in a second. Next is recruiting. So someone once asked me, they said, if you were going to pick one singular person to bring into your company, let's say you're building a company from scratch and there's like an NBA draft, and you can only pick one role. So let's say you can have, like in the context of an NFL team, you might have, or an NBA team, you might have a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, whatever it may be, but in the context of a business. So you can bring in a CEO, you can bring in a sales guy, you can bring in an ops guy, you can bring in, all these types of different roles. Which role would you pick? And they said, I would bring in a recruiter, because all I would have to do is bring in the recruiter, and then they can hire everyone else for me. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So what he's just said is I'm going to use labor leverage to go and recruit more leverage. So I'm going to go and get this leverage, and then I'm going to get them to go and get me a whole heap of new leverage in the form of, more skilled employees, more code, et cetera, et cetera. So recruiting is a great thing that you can do for your product specifically. And obviously that gives you just a ton of leverage, because you have obviously the labor, they can bring you more people, and those people can bring you more capital, more code, et cetera, et cetera. Then what you want to do is you want to get some client feedback. So the reason you want to do this is because your clients have great ideas, and they're obviously incentivized to improve your product because they're your client. So by getting your clients to essentially use their brains to help you while they're incentivized, in a way it's labor leverage, but also it's just kind of one of those things where you're not going to build a massive company from one singular brain. So you have these people at your disposal. They're the people you're trying to serve. They're literally the exact people that you are trying to attract and do good service to. They're going to be the ones that have the best understanding of how you can improve, as well as the problems that they're going through and what you should be targeting for. What do we need to put first? Is it smarter to start XYZ first in the project, or should we focus on this later in the project? Or should we do this first, or should we do this first, or should we solve this problem or this problem? It's very silly to guess these things. It's one of those ones where you want to be asking for that feedback, so you can actually know for sure, because they're the ones that are getting under the knife per se. Next, this is an absolutely massive one. This is probably the biggest part. This is the most important thing in the nightmare mode for agencies in 2024. Probably the biggest part. So Kaizen is the state of continuous improvement. So what it suggests is that if we continuously improve over time, then you're going to get better. It's a pretty basic statement. But the reason this is so important is because we're going to be targeting areas of multiplication. And what I mean by targeting areas of multiplication is if we target something that occurs every single day, and we improve that thing that happens every single day by 1%, that means over the year we get a 37x. So if there's an event, if there's an outcome that occurs on a daily basis, for example, a show rate, all of a sudden that is going to allow us to have a 37x at the end of the year. So What we need to do at the end of every day, you want to review the day, because this is where a lot of your data is going to come from. And like I said before, I'm going to talk to myself at the end of every day. What that allows me to do is have time to answer a lot of the questions that I have in my head. The way that I learned this was because when I was going to meet someone that I really looked up to, and I was thinking, what questions am I going to ask them? What am I going to hear from them? I want to try and extract some value here. What am I going to ask them? And as I was thinking about what I was going to ask, a lot of the questions that I had inside my head were already pre-answered because I knew what they would say. So instead of wasting time and asking them those basic questions that I could just answer myself, I actually saved a lot of time and almost solved a lot of problems just by the thought of what would I ask and how would I solve this problem? Oh, well, I can just do that. Then when it got to the time of actually asking the question, you can ask a very advanced question. But more importantly, you can see the areas of your business that you need to improve and the areas that you can improve in general. So based on that day review, you want to think of one way to improve the company. So just one. Just think of one. And bonus points if you get all of your employees to do this as well every day. Because what this is going to do, like I said, if we think of one way to improve every single day, whether it's a show rate, whether it's increasing the speed of project times, whether it's increasing show rates, whether it's introducing a client survey, whether it's introducing employee satisfaction stuff, whatever it may be, just one thing every day is going to give us a huge return over time. The next thing is identifying one constraint if there is one. So if there is a constraint, we want to think at the end of every single day, what is preventing us from getting to XYZ goal? The key caveat is that you don't want to just go off your gut, go off the actual data. So every single day, it's really important that this is supported by actual data and not just how you feel. Because the thing is, business is going to feel shit a lot of the time. You're going to have times where you're losing. Not to say, again, it's not as if you're going to war, but there are times where things are uncomfortable because you're growing. And that's a part of it. That's kind of just growing pains. But from what I've experienced, the worst decisions I've ever made as a business and an agency owner have been as a result of, I feel like this guy never does any work. I feel like we need to do this. I feel like we would do better with this offer. I feel like, just don't do that. Data only, that's the only thing you need to look at. So number one, that means you need to track stuff. And number two, that means at the end of every day, you need to look at the stuff. So look at your show rate, look at your close rate, look at your leads generated, look at how many cold emails you sent that day, look at your cold email stats, look at your ads, look at your KPIs, look at your team performance, look at how fast were client response times, how fast were cold email response times, how was lead to booking rate, all of these different things. And you want to identify one constraint. So where are we out of KPI? Really, really key. If you have one way to improve and one constraint, this is kind of a double-edged sword because they can kind of be the same thing. But sometimes if you reframe it towards a constraint, it's kind of like an inversion thinking. So identifying a constraint might be easier because sometimes in the human brain, because we're built for survival, it's easier to identify a threat than a desire. So have both of these just because you're going to cover both of your bases there. Then what you can do is as well, in your daily review, audit your team's performance. So having things like an end of day report, having things like, hey, how focused were you today? How can you improve? And literally asking the team, as well as, like I said, having those things like how fast did you respond to cold emails? What was the speed to lead? What was the lead to booking rate? And gathering all this data. And what's going to happen over time is you're just going to improve so much. Because for example, if we're doing all this volume over here, we're posting so many YouTube videos, we're sending so many cold emails, we're running so many different ads, we're testing so much stuff, and we have this loop where at the end of every day we're saying, hey, how are our ads? How are our cold emails? How is our team performing? How is this going? All of a sudden, we're in this massively strong position because we have the volume to allow us to run all these tests. And what that volume does is this is not only more stuff than what your competition is doing, you're not only outrunning them, but just by the fact of doing all of this, you're going to improve so much by reviewing constantly. You're going to improve that the acceleration becomes exponential. So what we found is that when we send more cold emails, not only do we get more responses, but it also allows us to test more and find more winning angles. So all of a sudden, it's not as if we're just sending more cold emails. It's not as if after the month we've just sent 10,000 more cold emails than our competition. It's that those extra 10,000 emails allowed us to find more improvement and find more different angles that were going to allow us to improve even more. So all of a sudden, it's like this massively virtuous flywheel where we're outrunning and we're outgunning. So it's like, if we're outrunning and we're outgunning, I'm pretty happy. Pretty good stuff there. So we have all this stuff in place. We have our audit, we have our one way to improve, we have our constraint. And what we want to look for is, where are the obstacles for not only our team, but also where's the obstacle for the constraint? Where's the obstacle for what we're improving? And that is going to be the plan for tomorrow. So if you're wondering, hey, Leo, this was a total of 4 hours if you had 2 hours on the product, that is where you will find solving a constraint. So you have one constraint per day being solved. And all of a sudden, do this for a year, do this for 6 months, and let me know where you get to. So hopefully this was valuable. That's pretty much all I have for today. Oh, don't put the OBS up. But yeah, hopefully that was valuable. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Let me know if this style is valuable. Going over the Miro board, obviously I've got a lot of stuff here that we can potentially share on the channel for you guys. But yeah, let me know if it was valuable, and I'll see you in the next video tomorrow.